Dear Thầy, dear Sangha, I have to confess I am quite surprised. Usually this time I do a workshop, but it seems like now I understand when the organizer invited me, they wanted me to share about beginning anew, art of communication. But either way, it's all the same. Thank you for showing up. I rode my bike and watched all the families gathering, the children and the parents. And just to let you know, those who've never attended one of those, have you ever been a family beginning anew? There's a lot of paper, napkin, a lot of crying. Yeah, because everyone gets to share. Just to let you know that what's happening right now in the other spaces. There's a lot of healing and opening up. I especially love to watch the fathers in the family. They're quite tight. And they don't want to but slowly as they hear their children share, they start bawling. I love that. I call it the Plum Village uppercut. You think you're not getting anything out of this? You're gonna cry. You get knocked out. Like you wanna repress your emotion? No. Mm-mm. So it's like I call it the uppercut. Of course, not violently, but some of us we think we're gonna get scot-free without crying at this retreat. That one, forget it. I even cry. It's so healing to hear families reconcile and appreciate each other, and we all have that. This is like, you don't need to find out the origin of the world. You just need to find out, like, that's the basic thing that moves, right? Our love for each other and where we come from. So this is what's happening right now, and I'm fully aware of that. And anytime the organizers invite me to be part of that, I'm so happy. But I have to hide it. This is just to let you know that, our practice here, our communities, it's all about that, the family, what's happening there. Whether we're here without our physical family, but we know that's really part of why we're practicing. Is to come to terms and come to circle and wholeness with our upbringing, our parents, our ancestors. That's basically what it means to get enlightened. So you finally get it, the connection, that we're not separate, that we are all just continuation. Sorry, I'm already into it. We just have a breather with the bell. Traditionally, we do a little check-in with everyone, just to make sure that we're here with our body, with our mind. So when you hear the sound of the bell, just close your eyes and don't look at me. Just look at yourself and check in with your body, check in with your feelings. How's my body right now? How am I feeling right now? Whether it comes up as words or sensation, just recognize it. Some tension, some anticipation, some anxiety. So these are things to pay attention to. When you hear the 3 sounds of the bell, you can release some of that tension that might be in your body. And also let go some of those thoughts that are disturbing you right now, keeping you from focusing on your breath. You have a thought, you have something pulling you away, your mind, come back to your breath. Recognize an in-breath, recognize an out-breath. With each sound of the bell, allow the sound, dissipation of the sound to settle yourself. Let the thinking settle down. dear respected teachers, dear beloved community. Today is one of those numbers. Today is today's day. Yes, I really don't pay attention much what day it is. It's probably one of those days. But we are here, and it's our third day of the retreat, and we're so lucky to have all. It seems like every year there are more and more children here, and more toddlers. So I think we're going to have a toddler program, and I love playing with the toddlers, and it's so it's such a wonder. No wonder people have poems and sayings about children being angels, children. And I've shared before, like when my niece, our first grandchild in our family, was born, and my brothers and my sister, we saw our father, the grandfather, first time pick up my niece, and it's been so long since we see our dad go goo 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 goo, make these funny thing, and we were like, my God. He's usually quite stern and like, it's like, he like around the house kind of grumpy. And then when the grandchild was born, he was like completely different person. It's so lovely, And this is the childhood, the upbringing. So we love having children here because it brings out that side of the monk and nun. We're like very mindful and very like solemn and like spiritual and all that. Yeah, but when children come, forget it. Well, at least for me. I don't say that for, I think some of my brothers and sisters are a little more advanced. They can stay equanimous, but with me and children, I get to be like my dad. Like they get all giggly and like bubbly, and yeah, they're just filled with a lot of happiness. Yeah, so that's how some of us are feeling. I don't know if the children's program, the monks and nuns feel that. They don't know what they signed up for. But part of our training as monastics, that I always advise my mentee that you cannot go through this tradition without volunteering for a children's program. Because the practice, if you've become too protected in your mindfulness, the children would destroy it. They'll either find you boring or like avoid you because you're too mindful. So this is a good training for us to be dynamic as well in our practice and be how do you call it? What is the word? Flexible. In our tradition, it's not concentration that we're like highly known for, or compassion, or wisdom. But I always tell my young brothers and sisters that flexibility is the most valued practice to train in. You can be compassionate, but you're not flexible, forget it, right? You're concentrated, focused, but you're not flexible, you're pretty dogmatic. And so flexibility is a wonderful mental quality to have. Doesn't mean that you're dispersed and all over the place, but you know when to yield from our own rightness. Taking care of the children, we get to develop that. Because there's like 30 of them. And I did children's program here for 8 years when Deer Park just started. And so that's a really part of our tradition. So know that we're here, but we're also with the children and the family. The art of communication. Yeah, traditionally this would be called beginning anew. How many of you have heard of the beginning anew sharing? or have not heard of the beginning anew? Yeah, a few of us. Yeah, it's developed from our teacher mm, for our community, because we were like a family, the monks and nuns. So we had to develop as a community a way of sitting in a circle, like Dharma sharing, and sharing our these things that come up in living together. So in a way, the monastery, the community, is like your family. You know, it's like 24-hour working, cooking, you know, responsibility and communicating, right? And things happen, yeah, misunderstanding and, like, you know, projections, all those habits that we bring from our own upbringing, we bring in as a new monk or nun. So that's how the beginning anew evolve. And my experience, when I first came into Plum Village, we didn't have beginning anew practice. So people got hurt, and it didn't help. And so sometimes we say things not skillful, and it creates even more division and misunderstanding. So as we evolve, I think we became more and more aware of how to do it skillfully and mindfully and constructively and lovingly and compassionately. So that's how my observation of how it evolved. And of course, the fundamental basis for all of this, communication in general, is our work with ourselves. That's why it's very important in the Buddhist practice. These communication and all this stuff is considered the branches. But the real work is at the trunk of the tree and the roots. So this is that's the work on ourselves and our communicating with ourselves. Meaning, are we understanding ourselves more? Are we untying things, the knots that we hold? So that's the true work first, learning to communicate with ourselves first. And that's what meditation is basically it. When you sit, you're actually making time to take care of ourselves and communicating with ourselves. How am I doing? So this is the very base. If you don't do that, the other communication, however artful it is, not going to work. So that's a key element. So making sure all the elements, before I go into the 4 elements of beginning anew, we need to know how to replenish and communicate with ourselves and cultivate in ourselves 4 elements. Easy. Mountain, solid. Okay, these things Thai developed so even children can hear and understand. So those are the trunk part. Mountain, solid. Are we solid? Do we feel stable? Do we still, or are we like antsy and nervous and like fidgety? You gotta know that. And meditation will let you know, is your mountain immovable, imperturbable? Or are you being disturbed by circumstance, current events, and you're like, you know, things come in and it disturbs you're like a mount of sand, easily washed away, right? With just a wicker of news. So those are one element. So when you sit, you learn to cultivate the mountain solid. That means recognizing what is disturbing you, look into it, understand why it's disturbing you, and let it go by. And slowly you'll have more of that awareness, mountain solid. It's so elementary. You know, it's like a children's book, but it has all of Thai's love and insight into it. That's what I love about it. It's not sophisticated Buddhism. It's very, you know, primal, mountain solid. Easy to understand, right? The other one is flower fresh. Okay? Are you fresh? Do people want to be around you? Right? Are you like, tiếng Việt in Vietnamese called tươi mát? Are you tươi mát? Or people avoiding you? Or every time they communicate with you, it's like, ouch, you know? So are you fresh? When you're fresh, people want to go near you and they just want to hold on to you. Flower fresh. You have this quality that is not heavy, that is not sticky either. This is something to pay attention to. Flower fresh. Whatever that means for you, just think of a flower. You know, everyone, wow, they smell it. They cherish it, right? You see a beautiful flower. It's just very inviting. So are you that? Are you nourishing that? Or are you like, always throwing out sourness? So people avoid you. I had people like this in my life. I was like this, but I called it more like I had laser eyes. I look at you like this and people run away, I like these. If someone shared that with me, it's like your eyes are very critical, you know that. And so I'm aware, my eyes are very critical. I remember receiving that as a young person. So flower fresh, mountain solid, clear lake. Are you a clear lake? Your mind clear. You're full of notions, ideas about yourself and about others. That it's like the ripples and the waves on the lake. It doesn't make. It makes every time you interact people, you just have so many ideas and so many things. It just makes everything complicated. It's like disturbance. So is your mind clear? So when people talk to you, you listen, you're clear, and then when you communicate back, it helps them kind of, that is clarity of mind. You don't disturb it more. You don't get disturbed by their disturbance. Your lake, so clear that it reflects the mountain, sky, the birds flying by, without any attachment. So you don't allow others in your family, in your lives, whatever, to disturb you with their disturbance. Because that's what you can offer them. You can offer them the mountain, you don't react, and you offer them your flower. It's like, I hear you. Keep talking. And then clarity is, I don't react. That will allow you to see clearly what is going on here. He just needs my attention. He needs my love. He really is saying all this, but actually, man, he probably just needs me to give him a hug. So this is clarity. You see beyond and you don't get sucked into it. So when you have clarity of mind, that is a precious thing. You don't fall into the delusion and the narrative, right? Many of us are easy. We're always victim of narratives. Our narrative and other people. When you read the news, you get sucked into their narrative and you think that is the reality. That's only partially right. You have to keep clear mind. And then lastly, open space. Like the moon in a clear evening, full moon. Clear space. Meaning you've done all the taking care of yourself, so you feel very open. Open to whoever they are, their opinion. Two people arguing, someone who is open doesn't take any of this, they're both right, you're good. So you're so open, you accept both, and they're arguing, and they're trying to get you to agree with them, and they're trying to get you to agree with them, and you're like, both of you are right. It's like, come on. It's like having the space to include many rights. Nobody's wrong. It's just that's where they're at. So when you have clear space, you don't think of right and wrong. It's like, people. But like when you don't have space, you usually gravitate towards a kind of some notions, right? So these are some elements in taking care of yourself. The trunk. You take care of these 4 elements. The art of communication. Slowly you become more skillful. So when I share about these 4, these different this way that we have learned to pay attention to, it's very similar to this. It has more effect. You're not doing this homework, you usually will share from a bias, whether you know it or not. Hidden biases that we all have. We all have hidden biases and hidden agenda. If you learn anything, I hope you learn and become aware that you all have agendas. As a mother, as a father, as a partner, as an employee, as an employer, as a monk, as a nun, we all have agenda. My agenda, I have agenda. See, what is your agenda? If you don't know that, it kind of like you have to be aware of that, because sometimes that will create more problems. Sometimes it's called a cause. I have a cause, a noble cause, and then you cause a lot of people suffering with your cause. I don't know, your principle, sometimes it's called principle, right? This is my principle. This is my value. This is my identity. This is what is important to me. If you don't know that those things you have, and you become victim of them, a victim of your cause. I've seen that in my own family and many other families. They all become victims of their own principle. So that triggers all our pride. One thing I learned, and it's so precious, in the monastery, and you're not going to get this in any other workshop outside. There's a lot of workshop on communication, but I would tell you the secret in here is the nonverbal communication. It's not, what is it, nonviolent communication, NVC, nonviolent communication. In the monastery, nonverbal is the verbal stuff is kind of like yeah, because they still have words. Nonverbal, much more advanced. That's mindfulness, actually. So it's more energetic. So you learn how people communicate by the way they sit, they move, how they walk in that door, how they close it, their posture, their neck. You know, like I give you a talk and I'm like this. So you gotta pay attention. You pay attention to your own body, your own movement, your training in mindfulness. You become very highly sensitive to energy. That is more advanced than verbal. Verbal, oh my God, it's like trying to, the what is those blackberries? You ever get caught in a blackberry bush? And my robe is like, more I move, the more I get sucked in. Yeah, that's. But we do our best with words and communication. I love you, and they're like, do you really mean it? See, you want something, right? It's like, let's have tea. It's like, okay, what do you want? Am I in trouble? See words? So Nonverbal communication is, oh man, it's so precious to me, and that's my training all over until now. After 20 something years of training, and still I'm very elementary about it. I'm still beginning about it, beginner's mind about it. It's so vast, that area of non-communication. And if you can master this and learn, or at least direct your mind to training in this way, because there's a lot of training on how to say what to say, in especially in the non-violent one. There's some trick. I know when a brother has been through that training, by the way he prompts it. He'll say something like, "Oh, I know. Well, now tell me, what really do you need?" or something like that. I forget how he does it, but I had one brother. He was doing that training, and I can tell when he's doing that method. If you do that and it's too obvious, you can annoy the heck out of the other person. I was like, okay, you hear me, you hear me. It's like, you see how it is? It's very, people don't like to be manipulated, especially with your nonviolent words. But underneath, you want something. That's violent. Even if it's wanting, to hear me, but don't make it so obvious. Sorry, I'm totally diverging here. So this has nothing to do with verbal communication, which I will share about. But more advanced is nonverbal. That's mindfulness, energetic, intuitive. You see that? That is an area that we want to go towards. That's a lot more, I think it's like the baby and the mother, You don't need to communicate. Immediate. No need for communication because it's already clear. And that's what that doesn't have like you, me, and I need to get you to understand me and that. Once you understand the other person, you don't even need to communicate. All of a sudden, things have changed in you, and they can feel it, and they also change. That is what happened with my own father. He doesn't like to talk about feelings and talk. We try, my sister and I try to get him, but after I become a monk, I realized that actually, why would we try to force him to share? But actually, there's other ways to communicate. And it made him uncomfortable, but it opened him up. Like, I went home and I sat and watched television with him, which is like unusual. Like the four of us, he always sits there and watches Chinese news. And I came back my third visit as a monk, and I sat there in the living rooms and watched TV with him. And it was so nice. And he felt so uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, do you have something to do? Like, no, I want to watch TV with you. And we started talking about Chinese politics. And then I made him some peanuts I roasted because he likes to eat peanuts. Fresh peanuts, and you roast it. And so the whole house smells like peanut. So, and I try not to get credit for it. Right? You just sit there. And then slowly things open up. Then he asked me to help clean the yard with him. You see nonverbal communication? If I go tell Dad, can we talk about our past, our lives together, how you raised us, and like, actually, I want to say that I forgive you, and that, oh my God, he would like go berserk. So you got to know who you're talking to, So nonverbal is like, you do it with all your love. So it's kind of like more action oriented and more gesture and more presence. So these are things that I've learned from Thai and the community and living in the monastery. There's a lot of nonverbal. When it comes to verbal stuff, it's like, okay, but we know underneath there's still more transformation needed because it's so dependent on the verbal. So energetically, when things move in us, the relationship moves. It's incredible. This is, I think many of us probably touch that if we give it some thought in our relationship and in people we've, had that breakthrough with. It's a more energetic transformation. But for beginning anew, the first element, I think it's very related to the mountain flower fresh and clear lake. The first element of communication is flower watering. So it's the same thing as what I shared about we see each other as flowers. And when you're mindful, you know the partner, someone in your house, is a little wilted. And we all know that. So flower watering, meaning you share stuff that makes them bloom. It's like, there's certain plants here that are so forgiving. Like a hot day like this and you didn't water them, and then later in the afternoon you water them and they come right back out. Oh my God. I'm so grateful for those plants. Watering is exactly, it's not just like social, political, not political. What's the one when you're at a party and you got to do the superficial, kind of like, what is the word for it? Social, smooching? Yeah. Yeah. Small talk, smooching, or it's not sincere. It's got to be networking. You did a wonderful job project. It's an amazing project. I wish I could be like you. No, flower watering is not that. Flower watering, it comes from a place of love, and you really appreciate their place in your life. So you have to really practice to come from that sincerity, flower watering. That's the water. The other stuff is probably, a little bit. So just gauge into it. And then more you know about yourself, you know what that is when you're kind of, there's a kind of flowering that doesn't work, and there's a flowering that works. I don't know how else to say it. And you need to figure out what that is with whoever you're speaking with. Yeah? Because I've also done that as well. I was like, oh, that didn't work. That make them even put up a wall. And because, they know you're not sincere, or they know you want something, and, it's hidden agendas and stuff. So flower watering, please get rid of your agenda and all that stuff, okay? Does that make sense? So you have to do the homework before you communicate and make that connection, especially if someone you haven't talked to for years. Oh my God, how to get rid of that motive, that agenda to try to make everything okay again? Oh, that is so awful. I know it's a good thing, but it makes the other person even feeling they got to be careful with you. But I've had many consultations where people had that backfire. So that's why the trunk, mountain, all free, and taking care of yourself, and you have the clarity of mind. And when you have clarity of mind, you kind of understand the other person more deeply. And then you figure out that actually this is the way to do it, not this way. Go like this. That's through meditation. The flower watering. Yeah. So I'm sharing with you because sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to be very mindful. And one of the things is our hidden wanting something. You gotta release that. Even wanting to make it okay again. can be really annoying to the other person. Like you have to share it from a place of acknowledging our common suffering. Like, look, I don't want us to go through this. I'm so sorry. And I appreciate you so much. So that they can feel that. So it has to, and you'll make mistakes like I've done, and then you'll learn again a better way. So that's the initial thanking. Right now, children are doing that. It's very basic, but they start off by saying, Dad, I love it when you do this. Mom, I love it when you do this. You guys pick up my socks and I keep throwing it all over the place. Very basic children thing, but the parents, oh my God, they start crying because, their children never share that with them. Expressing a regret. A regret. So that usually starts with I'm sorry, right? So through meditation, you can, every 2 weeks, the monks and nuns, we get to sit in a circle and we reflect on that, how we've spoken, how we've been thinking, and how we've been behaving. So there are things that we've done through our action that we feel regretful for. Even if it's small, feel like it's kind of like a little blaming, and you want to release that. So regret is it's wonderful to acknowledge that and say sorry, or even just acknowledge it within yourself because it doesn't fester. So you have to give it acknowledgement, and then in acknowledgement and releasing it, it doesn't become kind of like sour. So you become your integrity is very based on that. When you feel shame, inner shame and outer shame, publicly you express, Dear Sangha, I'm so sorry. I blew up last week. It created a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of disturbance in the community. So to say that publicly, it's a practice. But also to acknowledge that in ourselves, expressing a regret. So if you do this regularly, it's very healthy. Because we always make mistakes. Or we have thoughts that are like judgmental or like towards another person. And it's not a nice thought. You got to recognize that. You have to think, I got to be careful with that. Those thoughts are not helpful. So it's speech, behavior, and thinking. So every time you do this, you have to think. Like, I've been thinking really negative about these kinds of people. About this Mr. Poncho guy, right? Release that. You can't practice this tradition or meditation at all if you're harboring ill will, hate, even someone you think deserves it. It's just not a very undisturbed mind, right? So please release that. Okay, I feel regretful. I'm really blaming and criticizing, and I regret that. And this is something, it will empower with more energy. So that's one way of in meditation they say purifying our mind, but it's kind of like filtering it. A much better word, I think. 3 is expressing a hurt. So that's acknowledging that you've been hurt. And Thai, many occasions, have shared that this is a very difficult practice too. Even though it sounds easy, usually we don't want to admit that something hurt us because of our pride or our kind of like we feel like, I shouldn't be hurt by that, So we deny ourselves. And slowly those things pile up, and then we become, our character becomes a certain way. People who've been hurt and not have it circulate, haven't been able to share it. Something happens to their being. And this is what is powerful about this retreat. So we have many opportunities in our circle sharing and our connection with each other to acknowledge that in our family upbringing. I think we all grew up from a family, and certainly there's, that's somehow part of our process. And that's kind of like the other side of love. It's kind of like we're cursed with the same ability to remember, right? Our memories is what makes meaning and beautiful, and I connect you. I love to ask the children, how do you know this is your mom? They're like, what? She's just my mom. It's like, but how do you know? It's like, she could be my mom. I mean, that could be your mom. How do you know that's your mom? And that really goes like, yeah, I don't know why she's my mom, but she's just my mom. It gets them really whacked out. But it's something to do with memory and this is connection. And there's a hurt to that, memories. So there's a double, mud and lotus. See that? That's what makes life beautiful, that there is hurt. I know it's like, oh, I wish I never get hurt. But that's not the reality of every family, right? Every upbringing. You ask anybody, and even the ones who are saying, oh, I've never been hurt, my life has been angelic. But keep talking, yeah. And not maybe like drastic, but there's definitely a pressure, and later on in life they recognize that. So I think the hurt part is an acknowledgement of suffering. And this is part of our path. This is why it's called noble suffering. Because actually, it's what makes life beautiful, and that's what makes compassion grow. So through the hurt, we learn to develop our compassion. See that? Someone who has not been hurt or doesn't want to admit it, usually quite mean. They're quite stern and want to control. And so people who don't break down and admit that they've been hurt are usually a particular type. So this is a kind of sickness of our society. We don't want to acknowledge that. So we have leaders and people who are like, don't know how to cry, really. So this is something involved this role and how we feel when things are breaking down and stuff. We need more space for that, and that's why expressing our hurt is a practice. Acknowledge that, but not to blame. So you have to say, I've been hurt. I've suffered when this happened. I feel like this. So it's from that perspective. So when I lead Beginning Anew, I share that don't start off by saying, you did this, you did that. Right? So it's more like, what happened? What is the hurt? What is the suffering? And why do I suffer from it? So you kind of share from that relationship with suffering. Rather than say, you did this, like that, and it creates more division. So you share that so the other person can understand you. Yeah, you don't want them to change. You don't want them to say sorry. You just want them to understand that, hey, I've been hurt with this, and I feel really awful, and I know it's probably because of how I was raised. Mostly probably how you were raised and why we get hurt. And the more you do this, the more you understand yourself, your vulnerability and your weakness. And when you do that, you become stronger. You see that? So the mountain is not built by rocks and hardness and toughness. The mountain is built by understanding our weakness. It's not powerful. That is Buddhism. That's why suffering, if you understand suffering, you know the path of happiness. No mud, no lotus. So this is important to know. There's too many people out there that are like strong and solid, but they are so avoiding their hurt and they don't regret anything. I don't know. It's like if you pay attention and you look at the world like this, everybody is a child and they haven't really matured. It's a beautiful way to not harbor hate. You feel, oh man, why are you doing that? Oh, come on. You wouldn't hit a kid, right? If the kid did something that's like, improper. You wouldn't come down and do that. So some of us adults think they look like adults and they've been well educated, but actually it's not very different from what happens on the playground. So that's what I'm practicing with. I would never hit children fighting in the playground. I would intervene and I would talk and communicate and try to understand. Sorry, I'm diverging. But these are the, when we practice this, we encourage families or couple, especially if they're both practitioners, both parties or the group, everyone's practicing. But people who, like your family member, someone, your friend, who don't know how to practice, all of this has a what do you call it? What is this song? Asterisk. This only applies for people who are like practicing and they kind of know. And the ones who don't, don't do it like this. You got to be a little bit more, That's my father. So you have to be skillful. And that's where mindfulness comes in. There's many ways to do flower watering. Don't get caught in what I share with you. Many ways to do these things, depending on if they're comfortable. And don't do it rote like this. These are just suggestions to pay attention to. Flower, compost. Know how to turn the compost? You know how to regularly reflect on what you regret, what you've been hurt by? Then it doesn't fester. That's it. Family relationship is all about people not knowing how to turn their compost. Come on, how many families you know? It's so sour that they have to dump it out and start anew, And compost, you turn it well, you have the right mixture, the proportion. Wow, it's gold. And it can nourish the flower and the love that you have and the meaning of your family. A beautiful family have gone through many challenges. A real family. A family that is always, vacation and, swimming pools and stuff. Usually something's going to come and hit pretty hard. So be careful of like, what do you call it? Disneyland family. Yeah, they're running away from something. Usually they're hiding and something's going to feel compassionate for those who haven't discovered the path. And then lastly, the asking for support. And this is, kind of like recognizing the situation. And it's like, I think it'd be better for us, especially if you're both practitioners, you have come to agreement. Like, look, I have this weakness. Every time you touch it, it's painful. And I'm going to like do something I don't regret. I'm going to regret. Can we not do that? See, so you get to a place where you come to it. They call it a peace treaty. Like, I know your buttons, you know mine. You know where yours are, you know where mine are. Let's try our best not to touch it. That's beautiful. Because we're not all going to transform everything in this life and become the Buddha. You know? I got like a whole line of buttons here. Just don't mess with it. Okay? I keep it right here. And at least I know they're there. So this is asking for support, meaning we know each other's weakness. We know what we bring to this marriage, to this coming together. We know what the beautiful flowers that we bring from our ancestors, from our heritage, right? And our upbringing, our education, our society. And we want to cultivate and cherish those. Like, look, honey, you are the most patient person I know. You're so kind and non-reactive. There isn't someone else that is like that in my life. I want you to know that. Flower watering. Then, so you're gonna help me cook then? I say, well, you can joke around and bring some humor into this. Yes, I always try to make sure that. And let's listen to the bell and conjure up some of our loved ones who, that we long to connect with in that way. And we can communicate with them right in the present moment, sending them our goodwill, our peace, not wanting anything from them, even changing them, accepting them as they are. The last couple of years, things that you always come back to this kind of insight or awareness that I have. Like all people want is connection. I mean, as human beings, we're crawling around, eating, and going to the bathroom and sleeping and stuff. And you try to just look around. Like, what are people wanting? They want connection, and how they go about doing it is our culture. They go to work, they try to do these things to find meaning in our family. It's all about trying to connect. And when you feel disconnected, you try to find other connection. For me, that's and a lot of the difficulties, sometimes we connect with the wrong things. Yeah, we find. So there's a disconnect that we long for connection. The loneliness, depression, suicide, that's been really on top of my reflection lately, especially with the young children and the adults, and you hear a lot with the college students wanting to connect and feel heard and loved. The last 2 or 3 teen retreat, they said, I want to be heard. I hear that phrase a lot. We have all this technology now, but man, it's prominent, a whole generation. It's become the part of their lingo to declare that I just want to be heard, to be seen. You see that? It's because our society is separating each other so much, and we think the media, the movies, the internet, and the phones and the gadgets is finding us. It's finding us. We're like, oh, it helps us connect so easy, but it's actually at the cost of us connecting in real life. Of course, I see my brother doing Zoom. I do Zoom call with my family, so it's kind of helpful. But that cannot be. That is not what the connection is. There's something much deeper. That's for me, connecting myself, connecting with the earth, nature, our ancestor. So from this place, you can connect with other people, even without phoning them every day. So we have to be very careful to put an asterisk around communication. It's not all, immediately you think of like verbal and phone and emails and letters. But deeper than that is the word connection. To become connected, to become one with our teacher, to know his aspiration, to live as he's within us, then you don't need to like communicate. Even though he's not here physically, so our loved ones are like that. You have someone who you love, bring them to your mind when you practice, and you dedicate yourself. When I drink tea, I dedicate that to my father. I sit no longer with it, but when I fix something, I dedicate that to my father. So the communication happens spiritually, not just logistically. This is what contemplation practice means. We learn to cultivate spiritual, a heightened spiritual dimension, seeing the world. It's not just physical and it's not just verbal. It's also energetic. I have 3 sequoia plants in front of my room. The last couple of mornings since my brother gave it to me, I sit there and I contemplate the sequoia and what it talks to me, what advice the sequoia is giving me, especially in our current time, this country, and especially in Los Angeles. The sequoia, what advice is it giving me? It's a 5-year-old, it says that on the package. 5-year-old sequoia tree. It has the potential to live through many civilizations. 3,000-year-old. It has the potential to outlast maybe 2 or 3 civilizations. Man. So imagine me sitting there and communicating with a sequoia tree. And try to imagine what it's saying to me. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, and I smile sometimes. I see the mist flow by the mountain. So this communication is not just on the human realm, huh? It's also on the more archaic, biological, planetary realm that you are going to return to as ash or manure, or whatever you call it. Isn't that amazing? Right now, you exist in this form with this consciousness, and we've created words and meaning. It's a miracle that we've evolved to this state. I mean, it's like the chances of that happening in the universe. That's pretty phenomenal. So you see communication in perspective. Energy. A bunch of scribbles we call meaning. That's a miracle that we can communicate at all. My mind to yours. So silence is important. If you don't have silence, forget communication. You don't know how to be silent with yourself, don't even try to communicate. Of course, we do the daily stuff. Oh, how are you? Oh, you're good. Oh, how's your children? These things. But someone who knows how and okay and comfortable with being silent with themselves and happy. Silent, not as in like, reclusive silent. Silent, but so connected with life, with everything you come in touch with. The ants that also want lunch. Under your feet, they're looking for lunch. They don't wait in line, but they want lunch. The other day, the kids, realized that, oh, they want to eat too, so they started giving the ants their ant hill or ant hole. It's a beautiful gesture, Like the child recognized, hey, maybe they want to eat too, and sure enough, they all wanted to eat the banana. And I said, oh, thank you. They're going away from my feet now. They're going over there. And there's a joy, There's so many ways to communicate. So don't just like be in the human world, huh? Like there's so many ways to find connection. Don't just be demanding the human connection. And when you can see that, then you don't get fooled by the current narrative. That is key. So there's a little bit sort of towards the more ultimate touching, that we're more than just humans, but also the non-human. Communicate with the mist in the morning, that we are living in a fluid, bring air from the marine. So you can speak and talk like that with them. You're silent. Those are the power of meditation. It allows us to move beyond the human realm only. And if you can touch the other things of communicating, that's what poets do. They are able to connect and have access to multiple ways that nourish their communication. Their poems come out. What is it? It helps us connect to something else. So this is something, as meditators, as practitioners, we have that ability to connect and communicate. But because we live in the world and people need words, we do this. But the homework behind there, mountain, flower, lake, space. Okay? So those things. And word-wise, if you want to use words, or let's suggest, there's one, these are called mantra. I am here for you. That's one. So you can say it, or you can be it. Hey. See? I say it like that. So your loved one is going to get it. It's like, are you okay, honey? Why are you sitting here watching TV with me? Like, I'm here for you, Dad. I don't want anything. It makes them uncomfortable when you're really present. And that is the gift you give them. I say the greatest gift you can give someone, and they're like freaking out. It's like, honey, is something wrong? It's like, no, I'm here for you. And I don't want anything. I am here for you. Simply here for you. And that is a gift you can give to people. You do that at the grocery shop, people at the line, oh man, they kind of like go, are you right? No, I'm all right. It's good. I just really love the way you're doing packaging that. I was like, really? Oh, thank you, So probably the first time someone said that. So you see the gift, our true presence. No hidden agenda. I'm not doing it for some racial, social justice thing. No. Just pure, hey dude, what's up? And it's so wonderful to walk around like that. Like you don't have an agenda, you don't have motives. Just like you meet someone, You do that with the kid here. Try to do it with the kid. Oh man, it's great. There's one here that's very bubbly, and anyway, I had a nice exchange with him on the mountain. So you train like that, to just be present and without agenda. I'm here for you. So you can say that to your loved one. And if they're comfortable, if you know they're comfortable with that phrase, you can say that phrase. Honey, or you can tweak it a little bit. Honey, hey, you good? You know, short like that. Or like, hey, I'm here. Yeah. Honey, I'm home. Is that what they say? Do they say that anymore? Anybody say that? No, it's like Leave It to Beaver. You do? Oh. It's like the Leave It to Beaver era, you know? Hi, honey, I'm home. Or like Mr. Raja era. We're postmodern now. The other one is, I know you are there. And I know you're there, and I'm happy. So one is you bring your presence and don't need anything, and the other is like, you know, I know you're there, and I acknowledge it, and I'm so happy because, you know, you took all this opportunity to come here rather than go somewhere else. So you really like, yeah, and that makes people nervous. So you got to tweak that one, okay? It's like, I know you're there. It's like, yeah. What do you want? So you have to kind of like, you know, energetically. That's what you gotta bring to it, right? You know, so that's what we practice. Sit across someone having tea. You know, in a couple of weeks they're gone. So you're like, man, you're still here. Climb the mountain. You're sitting with your brother, and you're like, I don't want to take this moment for granted. So you recognize them. So one is your presence, and then you recognize their presence. Don't be a stone, you know? I'm concentrated. Not disturbed by anybody. No, that's not the practice. Our practice is interactive, alive. Okay, so don't be a practitioner around non-practitioner. You know, there are a lot of people who are practitioner around non-practitioner. Oh man, it's so bad for society. And they're like concentrated, overly concentrated, that they ignore life happening. So these are some words that you can use, or you can tweak it, but its essence is what you need to get. Okay? I know you're there. Darling, always has darling, but that's another era. What do you do now? Honey? Huh? Hey, bro. Yeah. Hey, bro. Just chill, bro. Let's chill, bro. Yeah, that's a good one. The third one is, I know you suffer, and I'm here. Yeah? And that one definitely needs tweaking. You do not want to say, honey, I know you suffer. Dude, unless you really know them and that they can handle that. You know, darling, I know you're suffering. I know you're suffering. And I'm here for you. It's a little bit of a tweak of that one. I'm here for you, the first one. It's just your presence. But here you acknowledge their suffering. It's quite a relief for the others. If you do it skillfully, it's quite a relief for them to know that someone else knows They don't want to try to fix it. Don't try to fix it. Just say, hey, I'm here. I know you're suffering, and I feel it too. That's it. Don't try to fix it. And don't give them advice. Jeez. Don't try to fix it. If they ask for it, maybe. But like to say, hey, let's go through this. That's I think they also trust that they can figure it out. We're so easy to give advice. I know you're suffering, and I'm here for you. And this one, make sure that you've done your homework, okay? The mountain, solid, fresh, clear lake. You come to them and you open that can of worms and you make more trouble. So this one, you gotta be like, are you solid enough to handle it? So don't be trying to solve people's problem when you got your own, because then you're just making more of a mess. And this one is, darling, I'm suffering. And I need your help. And I need your help. So that's very much like here. See it? It's related. It comes from this. These lines comes from beginning anew. And it's very practical living in a community. That when we suffer, we go ask for help and ask for a second opinion, ask for some advice. And you have to lower your pride. We think we can do it all by ourselves, and you probably can, but it's a very ego-building thing. Individually, we've been trained like that. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna survive myself. I have a Swiss Army knife, and I know how to make fire on my own. This is such a deluded, I can do it myself. I was like that, as you can tell. I wanted to be able to survive when everyone is gone. Can you believe I had a thought like that? It's a very, how do you call it, wanting to control and master my environment. And it's a kind of suffering. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it is definitely ego, proud, to striving kind of energy. So to practice this is such a relief for the other. Oh man. And going to ask for help, oh man, that's even another level. Is acknowledging you suffer and then asking for help. And those are we call the 4 mantras. And I added a few later on, and there's many others. This is a happy moment. So mantras are like when you say something and you're really mindful and you're present and you mean it. Darling, I'm here for you. It can transform the situation. The mantras is not like, Marpane, They're great. They can lead you in a very transient meditative state. And those things can be transformative. Those are more transient mantras. But mantras in Thai's tradition requires a lot of true presence and mindfulness, concentration. And it breaks the divide, the miscommunication, misunderstanding between each other. So if you do it, you have to be prepared and prepare yourself. So when you do it and say it and confront it, whatever that situation is, it has that power. That's what a mantra is. A mantra is a word that can open things up and begin anew, right? A mudra is a gesture. These are mudras. Do this. It means something to you. I don't know what it is, but it invokes something. The mudra, mantra, and then there's some other magical stuff. Spit on your face, your ego. There's different methods they use in the tradition. So Thais use these mantras to help us, but tweak it, change the language for yourself depending on who it is. And the fifth one is this is a happy moment. So that's also a mantra. Many times there's always stuff happening, disagreement, dramas and stuff. But to call something a happy moment is to recognize that even though all this stuff is happening in this country, we live in the most diverse country on the planet. I've been around, at least in these two coasts. It is so wonderful, this country. So I have to say that this country is a wonderful manifestation created from a lot of suffering. But we are here. You see that? My mantra? So because the other negative stuff is coming up, so my mantra is that this is a happy moment. So I've tweaked it a little bit to kind of like relieve myself. Because I don't want to live around with like a bunch of hateful flies flying around my day every day, you know? You got to like recognize it and let the flies out. Don't go around like, frame like that. Because, it makes you bitter, It makes you less flowery and people kind of avoid you. Because you're nothing, but you bring more flies into their head. People want less flies, not more. You ever had a fly in your room? I have practiced to allow it to be there, but it used to annoy me a lot. But like, okay. I leave a window open and then more flies come in, especially now. And then the sixth one is you're partially correct. These are very dangerous ones, so don't use it anytime. This is a big asterisk. This is a happy moment. It's like, oh, you're asking trouble if you say that at the wrong time. Okay? So does that make sense? Be skillful. Be intelligent. And the other one is you're partially correct. When they compliment you, it's like, so honey, you're amazing. It's like, well, you're partially correct. You haven't seen the other side of me. Yeah? And when they say, you're awful, yeah, but you're off. You're just half right. I'm also wonderful. You see that? So you don't let them demean you. You're like, yeah, you're right, but only right partially. So you don't ever forget the flower or you don't ever forget the mud. They always go together. No mud, no lotus. That's what it means. You're partially correct. Thai is very compassionate. The Buddha said you're always wrong with your perception. Every time you think you're right, you're wrong. It's pretty drastic, huh? But it's true if you study more and more how the mind works. Everything is tainted with our notions. You don't believe it now, but maybe one day you will. But Thai is so compassionate. He says, you're partially correct with your perception. So it allows us to perceive wrongly. Because, come on, my roommate is like that, I know it's off, but it's at least 40%. And there's so much of us that we want to keep at least some percentage, right? So that mantra there is to acknowledge that. So when they compliment you, don't get proud and ego and, say, well, actually, honey, I still have a lot of work on. Humble yourself, right? And when someone criticizes you, you say, well, they're partially correct. I have good qualities too. My ancestors, or like this country, is getting criticized a lot. But actually, there's also wonderful things as well. We have to counterbalance it. The first time this happened, the first round of what we're going through, I actually had to go dig into history of the natives and the American people, and wow, it's just such a rich history that we've not been told about. And so you have to water the flower, okay? I think I've done my homework. On the fly. But this is what we practice. This is, if you continue to do this and you memorize it. Don't put it on your iPad, whatever. Memorize it. The steps, technique, and the other 4 elements. When you meditate, you're doing it correctly, those 4 elements: mountain, flower, lake, space. Those things, gauge that. And then they will be your guide. They will let you know where you're at, okay? And these things, when you do it regularly, they become part of your habit. You go around flower watering everybody to death. You see them bloom like crazy. And we need more of that. There's a lot of people throwing hot water around. And so we gotta counterbalance. With this Sada Paraputra's Buddha, he goes around and say, "You are a Buddha to be. Yes, you are. Don't forget that." And people used to throw rocks at him because it's kind of annoying. Someone going around reminding everybody how good they are. They don't want to admit it. So that's what we need more. That Buddha go around, spread flowers. So please help do that, right? Please go around, spread the flower. Help us, because we don't go back into your world much, but we need you to do that for us. Thank you.